GetCrack. Wake up, motherfucker.
Hello, it is February 7th, 2025. All right, guys. So let's check out how it's going. Let's see what we got here. Bitcoin just touched 99,950. All right. So almost 100K. We got that done. Okay. So this morning we got that. I don't know if it's going to continue on. Affirm tried to get a little bit higher than aftermarket yesterday at 76. So this resistance around 70 is probably still in play. So keep watching that one. So AFRM. Now, HIMS trying to get back to its high from Wednesday, right? So it cleared it. So past 44, tried to hit 45 right now. Not sure if that's going to stick. So we have the payrolls data was kind of mixed, but it was good enough to pump everything today, especially Bitcoin. So that's looks like it's winding down. So I don't know if MSTR wants to get up to 400 or not. This looks like, yeah, it's weakening already. It's weakening already. Okay, well, I guess we'll have to wait for next week. So it's not really clear. Not a strong pump yet, but I'm not going to say I'm going to short it right now. Let's see what else we got. LEU is nuclear stock that I've been watching. It's clearing that 92 area right here again. So it's really going to rely. Man, I mean, it had earnings too. So, dude, it might be a big play for next week. So LEU, watch that one. It's gonna really rely on the interest rates going down though. AAOI, nope, no go. So it's down 2.3% right now. Yeah, I don't think it was strong enough. The results this morning, DNA was like 7% at one point, but it's pulled back too. So a lot of this stuff, it just did what it did, and then it's just pulling back now. So no go, nothing. I don't see anything that I can give you a definitive answer until next week. So right now we're done with Amazon. Okay, so that was the last big earnings result until the end of the month. You have Nvidia end of the month, Marvell, MRVL at the end of the month, and then March, first week of March will be Avago, Broadcom. Essentially, I think, or Broadcom is going to be end of the month, and then Marvell is the March 3rd. Either way, it's like we don't have Powell until 40 days. Powell isn't going to talk for 40 days. And you only have significant earnings at the end of the month or beginning of next month. So all the trades are finished. I finished my SMCI, trade. I'm done. Like I said, I'm not going to play earnings on Tuesday. I'm done. I got out up here or close to it, like probably around here, and I'm finished. So I can show you my leftover piece that I sold. This is the leftover here. You can see what I got from my last bit of SMCX. I used SMCX to trade it. That's the 2x leverage. So anybody wants to have proof or something, that's it. That's what I got. So share my screen here. Okay, that's it. That was my last piece. That's the last piece. Bye-bye. No more SMCX. I'm done. So probably made a total of the 30K on this trade from Monday. All right, so pretty good. That's it. That's what you got to do when you're trading. You just do what you can, be conservative, all right, and take profits as it moves up. This is a volatile time. Anything could happen, and we got a weekend. So guess what? Weekend is the greatest time to introduce new news like it did the last 2 weekends. You had tariffs. You had DeepSeek. What's this weekend going to bring? Just make your money and get the hell out, because this is not the time to be cute. All right. Definitely not the time to be cute. Yeah, because like I mean, yeah, you could say like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I buy right at the low and I sell right at the top. No, that never happens. Come on. I mean, maybe later when I understand that DeMark stuff, but right now, no, you can't do that. Shit. And okay, Bitcoin still drop. Okay, still dropping. Okay, don't trust nothing. Now, does that mean I'm gonna short MSTR right now? No, probably not. Nah. I don't know. I mean, I've made some mistakes on shorting because I did short semiconductors just before DeepSeek, but I got out on a Friday, so I used SOXS. Yeah, so this is the leverage ETF to short semiconductors. So I made my gain from here, 1650 to 18. I thought I did a good job. I got 5%, 6%. I'm happy. Well, guess what? I could have made like 30%. I kept it over the weekend. Fuck, man. I don't know, dude. Look. I don't know. Like, if I had if I had insider information, like the problem to me was like the whole DeepSeek stuff was talked about the whole week, and nobody cared. It was only the weekend that they started caring. I didn't understand it at all. Why did you guys care over the weekend? You didn't care for the past 3 days. I was shorting then. Oh, fucking stupid asses. Anyway, this is my fault. I always underestimate how dumb people are. You know, it's the same thing as COVID. I should have just went long, aggressively every trash stock during COVID. But you know, I just somehow think people aren't that dumb. But again, it's my mistake. I always overestimate people. So that's yeah. A lot of times in the markets, it's all about being so affirm. Let's see, affirm 50. Yeah, okay. Um, we'll have to watch this next week. AFRM and LEU. All right, guys. Yeah. These two. So these might be a good play. But what I really wanted to tell you guys was China. China. So ever since they started doing tariffs, China's been busting out because BYDDY yesterday went up 10, like nearly 10%, 9.33%. Today, 7 point. So they have tariffs on Tesla and Apple right now that China retaliated. So a lot of these Chinese tech stocks are getting the benefit. TIGR, FUTU has nothing to do with tariffs, but if the domestic market is booming, these things will continue up. So watch some of these Chinese stocks, and I'll definitely talk about it again, maybe over the weekend and Monday. XIACY, another this one is like probably the only Chinese stock that is very good for buy and hold. The other ones are not really that good. So Xiaomi, it's Xiaomi, all right. So if you want to know the company name, they make batteries, lithium ion batteries. That's how they started, but they do other things now too. A lot of like they're getting to sell smartphones and cars, EVs. So Xiaomi, so very local, the domestic production, and they got the battery which goes everywhere. Everyone needs batteries, right? Yeah, Baba is kind of well, it has earnings coming up too. Okay, I don't know if we're gonna get a Baba. But apart from that, we'll see how that goes. ATAI, yeah, was trying nothing. Nothing's happening today, so I can't say nothing. And yesterday I talked about TMC, the metals company. Yeah, it's up 3%. I'm not sure if it's gonna break out of 2. I'll have to talk more about it next week. But that's kind of like a buy and hold. It's definitely a good trade when it goes below 1 and you sell it at 2, kind of like that thing. But I think now, if you watch yesterday's stream, I talked about why the Trump administration may be very good for this stock. This can finally get back to above 5, you know? So going from $1.80 to 5 and plus more, this could be the next Palantir. So I've talked about that one. DNA, yeah, I don't know, man. DNA, it can break out, but yeah, I think it's stuck. So let me look at the Russell 2000. Ugh, it's stuck too. Okay, IWM stuck. XBI stuck. Yeah, this is not good. We're not getting a definitive answer, you know. So the other thing to look at is ARK funds. So ARKK, Kathy Wood stuff. ARKW. This is the internet part of her stuff and the genomics, DNA testing, DNA CRISPR, like DNA manipulation, ARKG, and then ARKF. If I see these type of stocks that she has go up and break out, yeah, Tesla was great, Antoine. Yeah, Tesla, if anything, pretty much anything. Yeah, Tesla was great. I didn't jump in back to Tesla, you know. I was in Tesla when it was just when Elon Musk got in and kicked out the old CEO. Shoot, man. I didn't know that any of that was going to happen like that. I was just like, what? Anyhow, yeah. And yeah, we should talk about Tesla too. So Tesla, still stuck here at 370. So I was thinking it was going to break out eventually, but it doesn't look like it's happening. So that's why I recommend the Chinese equivalent of Tesla. So I think what's happening is, so this week it's up 21%. So what I think is happening is a lot of the Tesla stuff requires Chinese revenue, right? They have to sell a lot of cars in China. People aren't really into the EV automation taxi that he wants to do. So that thing isn't being sold well in the stock market. People aren't buying that story, that hype. You know, you need hype to push up a stock. So since Tesla isn't going anywhere, this is taking over. And I mentioned this way back in May. And Ryan was like, how do you know it's going to go up? And it's like, you look at the chart, because here, I'll show you this, right? I drew this square rectangle. You see this? Two tops here, 2022, 2021. And you have this bottom area kind of. So it touched it last in February of this year. I mean, last year, 2024. And then all of a sudden, it just kept rising right back up here to the top in October. And you have a lot of volume come back. It pulls back. It comes back up. But the thing is like when you see this keeps bottoming here, it keeps making this range. And so what you're waiting for is the breakout of BYDDY, okay? Now it's doing that. And you got volume coming in. So this might be it. So we got earnings on this stock, looks like late March. This might be the year for this stock. When you make a big range like this, a huge base from 2020, it goes sideways. Guess what? Once it breaks out, it's going a lot higher. All right. And I can do the point and figure chart and tell you what price I think it's going to get to. So this is why if Tesla isn't moving and this is taking over, this is the one to get into. And there's a lot of Chinese EV stocks, but most of them are trash. All right. We can do XPEV. Look at this one. Like up $80, goes down to $8, back up to 17. I don't know if it's going anywhere. There's another one, LI Auto. Yeah, see, this one's like a noise. This is complete noise. I don't know what it's doing. But when you look at something like BYDDY, okay, this used to be something at 10, right? Before COVID, pushed up after COVID in the range for nearly pretty much 4 years. It's about to break out. Guess what? This one, buy this one. So this is it. This could be it. So look at the Chinese stocks right now. Yeah. You have to be selective. And BABA is at a base. It's making a base. Once it breaks out of like 120-ish, then yeah, maybe it could get back to 300. I don't know. Maybe. If they keep talking about AI, that'll be great. If they keep saying AI, we beat American AI, fine. I don't care. Just say whatever you want to say. I need to make money here. So yeah, that's it. Anything else I want to mention? Oh yeah, I forgot about talk about Zim. Zim, it looked like it was trying to do something yesterday. So this is a shipping company, container shipping between China and the West Coast. That's their main. It's an Israeli company. So I was talking about it when it was attempting to break 30, and this was earnings. You see what happened here? So if you look at this in earnings, it was like, oop, and then it just faded. So a fade is when like it pops up at the beginning of the day, gaps, and then it just loses everything into the close. Guess what happened the next day? It just crashed. So whenever you see that, yeah, get the hell out. So especially when it did it at resistance, $30 is important for this stock. It did that and it did this, and I said, "Whoa." So then it went back down. It tried over the New Year's, between like Christmas into New Year's. All right, it tried to get back up to 23. Then it didn't. It failed. It came back down here. And so if you look at BDRY, BDRY, this is the bulk shipping container prices in the world. So they do container shipping, Zim. But I'll use this one as a proxy. So if the prices to ship goods around the world is still going down, they're not making that much money. So this is kind of a problem. So we kind of look like we made a bottom around January 23, 24. Okay. Maybe it's time Zim will try to get back up to 30 again. So I'm watching this one too. ZIM. I don't know. Okay, let's look at AOI. Still not doing. Yeah. Damn. Okay, so today, no decision today. Today was just non-noise. So now the IWM's down like 0.8%. Great. So we didn't get any idea of what we should be doing. And let's see what Bitcoin's doing now. So you gotta keep trading, guys. You can't hold anything. Oh my god! Now it's back down below. You don't want to see this. You see, we've been trying so hard to get back up to 101, 102. So Monday I did the long trade, right, really quickly, but after that we're just stuck here, and who knows what's going to happen over the weekend. I'm not going to dare short. I'm not going to dare long. I'm not going to do nothing. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I don't have the balls for that. Doing weekend stuff. That's just like a coin flip. You're just really gambling. Him still trying. So that's good. That stock's still okay. But this could still be the top. So if you watch yesterday's stream, I showed you the DeMark indicator stuff. It says 45 is the top of this stock right here. It can't go further. It'll just like go sideways from here. So it might drop back down to like 38 and go sideways from here. So this, yeah, I rather look for other new opportunities. So LEU is one, AAOI is another. So maybe Monday I'll see if I want to do more with it. Oh, DNA is another. So it tried on Wednesday, right? So, and then it's like that was a great day trade, but then it just went back down to the resistance here at 13.5. So I'm trying to decide if I want to get back into 13.5 and see if it can break out again, because this chart looks great. This looks great because this whole base looks like it's ready to go back to 80. So if you go from $13 to 80, yeah, do it. This is the way. But it might not be ready. I might have to wait for a couple months. Okay, so be patient. There's no rush on anything I say right now, because I don't like what's gonna come in March. February is just gonna be like a fake out. It'll probably be like, we're ready to go, and then it just comes back down. That's how it always does it. That's how it always does it. It just traps a bunch of people and then it just comes back down. So yeah, stock market, man. Crazy. Always something. Okay, Affirm still at 72. It looks great. Affirm. So AFRM, another one to look at. All right, that's it for now. let me play this interview with the new Treasury Secretary. Let's see what he says about Elon, Doge, all this important thing. Because yeah, also maybe he'll talk about Bitcoin too. I don't know. I think. Let's see. Oh no, I'm not gonna play the Mark stuff. That's too autistic right now for the morning. I ain't gonna play that shit. Here, hold on. All right, here we go. Dry.
With U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent in Washington. Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining me.
So good to see you.
Mr. Secretary, we are inside the cash room at the Treasury Department. It is almost impossible to overstate how important the work that is done in this building is to the U.S. financial system. Yet right now, there is widespread concern about the Doge team's access to sensitive payment systems. Are you worried at all that that access and that tinkering of the payment systems could affect the Treasuries market or cause any disruption?
Good. Well, Saleha, thank you for asking me about that because there's a lot of misinformation out there. First of all, when you say the Doge team, these are Treasury employees. It is 2 Treasury employees, one of whom I personally interviewed in his final round. There is no tinkering with the system. They are on read-only. They are looking. They can make no changes. It is an operational program to suggest improvement. So we make 1.3 billion payments a year. And this is 2 employees who are working with a group of long-standing employees.
The letter that the Treasury Department sent earlier this week talked about how the team currently does not have access to change the system. Have they at any point this year had the ability to make changes?
Absolutely not. This is no different than you would have at a private company. And by the way, the ability to change the system sits over at the Federal Reserve. So it doesn't even lie in this building. So they could make suggestions on how to change the system, but we don't even run the system.
And if they ask for, if they request the ability to change the system, would you grant that?
No, again, they have no ability to change the system. I have no ability to grant that change. That they can make suggestions, then it would go to the Federal Reserve, and just like any large ERP system, there would be tests, there would be this, there would be that, and then the Fed will determine whether these changes are robust or not.
As the Secretary of Treasury, you also oversee the IRS. Do you know what kind of access the team has to IRS data or individual taxpayer data?
Well, I'm glad you asked that too, because look, the IRS, the privacy issue is one of the biggest issues. And over the past 4 years, we've seen a lot of leaks out of there. The IRS systems are quite poor. When I started in college in 1980, I learned to program in COBOL. I think there are 12 different systems at the IRS that still run on COBOL, but as of now, there is no engagement at the IRS.
And if they request that access, would you sign off on that request?
They haven't, so we'll take that when it comes to it. I think there is a lot to do there, but the president was elected with a big agenda, and to the extent that getting the IRS in better shape is part of that, sure. Because look, with the IRS, what am I concerned about? I am concerned about collections, I'm concerned about privacy, and I'm concerned that the system is robust, and customer service.
But do you think that if they ask for access, that is something you would consider signing off on?
There are a lot of things I would consider, but look, we're in the middle of the tax filing season right now. We even, with customer-facing employees, that they're not eligible for that until May 15th. So I don't imagine anything's going to go on at the IRS until then or beyond.
Elon Musk just half an hour ago tweeted out that Treasury needs to stop approving certain payments. Has your staff tried to block any payments here at Treasury?
We have not, and I'm glad you asked that too. And just to put in perspective, Elon and I are completely aligned in terms of cutting waste and increasing accountability and transparency for the American people. I believe that this DOGE program in my adult life is one of the most important audits of government or changes to government structure we have seen. That when I was in my 20s, we had the Grace Report, and there's some great suggestions that came out of that, never implemented. Under Clinton and Gore, I think it was to government efficiency or reduce government. Nothing happened. So President Trump came in, there's a big agenda, and I think that there are gigantic cost savings for the American people here. And I think it's unfortunate the way the media wants to lampoon what is going on. These are highly trained professionals. This is not some roving band going around doing things. This is methodical, and it is going to yield big savings.
At any point, would you heed what Musk just tweeted and stop payments from coming through Treasury?
Look, most of that happens above us, that it comes from the departments and the agencies. We are doing a complete review, and I want to emphasize to you and everyone watching that it is an operational review. It is not an ideological review. We want to make sure that the American people are getting the best practices, and I don't think that's happening right now.
The systems here at Treasury, they're known to be a little antiquated, but very, very sensitive, but also they're working. I'm hearing, at Bloomberg, we hear a lot about investors being concerned that this could hit markets in some way or start to cause a loss of confidence. As a longtime hedge fund investor, do you have a response to those concerns?
People shouldn't be concerned. At Treasury, we move deliberately and we fix things. That's the way we work. So everyone should know that all the payments are going to be made, they're going to be in good order, and at the end of this review, there are going to be substantial savings for the American taxpayer.
Mr. Secretary, you have experience in currency markets, and now in your new role, you oversee U.S. currency policy. I'd like to ask you, what does a strong dollar mean to you?
First of all, the strong dollar policy is completely intact with President Trump, and I was very happy at his Economic Club of New York speech in August when he re-emphasized the importance of maintaining the dollar reserve currency status. But let's think about, what does a strong dollar mean? It really means four things. One, that when we think about a fiat currency, a piece of paper is credibility. So a strong dollar is credibility and a rule of law that is backing it up. Two, it means a composite price on the screen, the Bloomberg Currency Index, that is the dollar moving up against that. Three, it is a bilateral price. So what's important to remember is the dollar is either weak or strong versus something else. So we want the dollar to be strong. What we don't want is other countries to weaken their currencies to manipulate their trade. And then fourth, that we want to have the best policies that create the environment for a strong dollar.
Let's talk about other nations and how they manage their currencies. The president has asked for a tariff study from several of his cabinet officers or incoming cabinet officers due April 1st. And the Treasury piece of that is to assess how to handle when foreign nations manipulate their currencies. Do you see any evidence of manipulation in foreign exchange rate markets right now?
Well, we'll wait till the study comes out, but I think just intuitively, you and I could agree that when you see the accumulation of these large surpluses, that there is not a free-form trading system that's going. It could be due to the level of the currency. It could be due to trade restrictions. It could be due to some interest rate repression policy. So it could be any of those.
Are there any countries that you're monitoring or watching specifically right now? I know the president in the past has labeled China as a currency manipulator. Do you see any other nations that need to be closely watched?
Well, I think we'll see on April 1st. And as you know, that China is the most unbalanced economy in the history of the world, and they are in a deep recession right now. They're experiencing deflation, and they're trying to export their way out of that. And we can't allow that. We want fair trade, and part of that is taking a strong position on the currency and the terms of trade.
Yesterday, the Treasury Department had its first quarterly refunding since you were confirmed. Do you have any plans of looking at how the Treasury's debt issuance strategy comes together?
Well, I think the good news is that the trajectory of the borrowing is dropping. So I was very happy to see that it's one of the few good surprises I was left by the previous administration. So the trajectory is good, and the government's well-financed into the third quarter, and I believe that as it becomes apparent that the president's agenda is working, that we'll see a great deal of non-inflationary growth. And I think that will help us calibrate what the debt policy should be. But I don't foresee any changes in the issuance for the foreseeable future.
And what about the process? Do you think that TBAC is the most effective way of getting feedback from markets?
Well, I want to thank all the members of TBAC who are here this week. They are a very elite group. I think that maybe over time, we need to think about the style of engagement. It has turned into more of a research think tank than direct market engagement, and that's going to require some changes from both sides. I believe when TBAC was originally started, it was supposed to be a market feedback mechanism, a little less of a think tank, and we've been assigning research projects, so I think there's some recalibration on both sides, but I think that whatever we do, TBAC will still exist.
Mr. Secretary, you said yesterday in an interview that the Trump administration is more focused on long-term yields than what the Federal Reserve is doing, which is a bold statement. I want to ask, how do you plan to keep a lid on yields, considering the deluge of debt issuance that is coming down the pike and also some of the inflationary risks that are ahead?
Well, one of the things I wanted to emphasize is that we are not focused on whether the Fed is going to cut, not cut. What we are focused on is lowering rates. So we are less focused on the specific of rate cuts and how do we get the whole curve down. I mentioned that the 10-year, I believe, is the important price to focus on. It's mortgages, it's long-term capital formation. So, and look, I think with the president's policies of energy dominance, deregulation, and non-inflationary growth, I think that the 10-year is going to naturally come down. And then, look, on top of it, what if we do get some big savings on the spending side from the DOGE programs? Like, let's think of a naive formula. Government equals spending minus taxes. For my entire career, and beyond, maybe even back to pre-FDR, government equals spending minus taxes. The S, the Republicans, we like spending. We just wanted to raise it less. The Democrats want to raise it more. Taxes, Democrats want tax increases, we want tax cuts. What nobody's thinking about is what if the S actually went down? What if it actually goes down because of everything we're doing right now?
But what about the inflation concerns that are stemming from the tariffs and tariff threats?
Look, I'm not sure that where this narrative, that tariffs for the country putting on the tariffs is inflationary, that we could have a small one-time price adjustment, that as we saw in Trump 1.0, that the deregulation and the other policies, we stayed right around the Fed's target level. So I'm unconcerned about that. I think especially that China now, given all their excess capacity, will, no matter the level of the tariffs, will end up eating quite a bit.
There's a lot of uncertainty around tariffs. We see them threatened or signaled, and then they're taken back. It appears as if this administration might be unfriendly to businesses. Is that right?
Really, I think it's just the opposite. I think this is the most pro-business administration in history, and everything we are doing is going to increase the after-tax return on capital, and as a result, working Americans will have very high real wage growth. That what we've seen over the past 4 years is the government and government-adjacent sectors providing the employment growth. And why have we experienced this affordability crisis? First, there was a massive spending met by increased regulation, which caused inflation, and then government and government-adjacent jobs do not cause real wage growth because they move up at CPI. So, I think that we are going to not only be business friendly, but very, very friendly for working Americans.
We're seeing companies already under some stress from the tariff threats. China is investigating Google. And also, as you know, are well aware that businesses like to be able to plan ahead, but with so much policy uncertainty, that predictability factor is gone. That all points to a little bit of a tougher environment.
Well, look, I think the best thing we can do for predictability is make the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act permanent. That would be the single best thing we could do for predictability. We can go back to the 100% expensing and add some new features that I think business is going to be very happy with. But again, the most important thing is that it filters down to working wages, which is what we saw in President Trump's first administration. Hourly workers did better than supervisory workers.
Well, let me ask you about the tax plan then. On the campaign trail, Trump floated no taxes on tips and cutting the corporate rate and a lot of other proposals. How are you going to juggle which campaign promises are high on that the priority list for the bill, considering how costly everything would be?
Well, we're just starting the process now, and we'll do what President Trump will give us his priorities, but I can tell you the real priority is fixing this affordability crisis for the American people. And when you think about no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime, potentially putting back in auto loan deductibility, all of those benefits accrue to the bottom 50% of income earners in America. They have really taken it between the eyes for the past 4 years, and that's unsustainable.
Before I let you go, Mr. Secretary, I want to ask you if you have had your traditional weekly meeting with Fed Chair Powell yet.
We did. I did an away game over at the Fed. We had a very nice breakfast. Chair Powell and I don't know each other well, so it was very constructive. How
do you view that relationship evolving? The two agencies and buildings are supposed to work very closely together, and you've had some criticism in the past of his work.
And as I said at my hearing, everything I'm going to talk about is things the Fed's done in the past. Prospectively, monetary policy, I will not comment on, and I'm sure
How do you view
the Fed's done in the past? Prospectively, monetary policy, I will not comment on, and I'm sure he's going to do the right thing, so there'll be no criticism.
I won't criticize you, Jerome Powell. Anyway, so Jerome Powell, if Trump wants to get rid of him, he can do that in 2026 on May. So you got about a little over a year. So, if he doesn't like what the Fed's doing, Trump will kick him out then. So let's see what happens. Anyhow. Okay, guys. Affirm still doing good. Looks like Affirm is doing quite well. 21%. So it's holding. It's holding despite the rest of the market waffling right now. And we'll see what happens next week. Looks like a good breakout. AFRM. Okay. Let's see what else I got here. Peloton. Peloton is a stock that's interesting. Like, I don't think the company is any good. If you remember, it had a great time during COVID when it went from $20 to nearly $160. So people were staying at home. They were getting these e-bikes delivered, right? So these exercise bikes, essentially, not e-bikes, exercise bikes. And all they did was stick an iPad on it. It was essentially an iPad. Come on. And then they would just go into these classes and pedal. And somehow they had the subscription model and all that. And so they made a ton of new users because everyone was stuck at home. So all the idiots paid for overpriced exercise bikes with an iPad stuck on it. So that was a great business model to steal from rich people, because there were a lot of people in San Francisco. They had all these vans going around, Peloton vans delivering all these bikes. And when I saw all those vans go around, and this is the Peter Lynch style of investing, where you are the boots on the ground. You see what's up, and then you were like, all right, you know what? I'll buy a little share here or there. And guess what? It went up all the way to 160 nearly from essentially an IPO price in October 2019. How convenient. They IPO'd just before COVID, but now we're back at $8. It was at 3 something. Yeah, so it hit like 280. Okay, 288, double bottom here in 2024. It had one good earnings in August, up 50%, and it's been up ever since then. It's pulling back now. So if it gets back to around $5, I might be willing to play this as a trade, okay? Because I'm not sure it's going to be like a Carvana. Carvana was one of those type of stocks that did quite well during COVID, as well, from $30 to nearly $300, and they do used cars, right? And a lot of people right now are so lazy to buy used cars. And they would use a service like this to handle all the paperwork, do everything. I actually bought a used car from one of their competitors called Beepy. Beepy was like a Bay Area, smaller version of Carvana. Very nice service. Honestly, they take care of everything, all the inspections, did all that, and did the loans and stuff. So I tried it out, see how it worked to get a used car, and it worked pretty well, pretty smooth. So BP went under. It's a hard business model. It's hard to make money. So when I saw that, it's like, to me, Carvana was like in the same area. It's a larger scale because it went nationwide. But once the used car prices started like becoming a headache, because you have to remember, during COVID, used car prices was very high because new cars couldn't be produced without chips, right, from China and Taiwan. So they had a huge issue during COVID. So they couldn't sell new cars, and used car prices started going up, and it was eating away at the margins. And then you had Jerome Powell increasing interest rates, so that killed a lot of prospective buyers, because if you need a loan, they were higher. And this went all the way down in December, and I just took I knew the stock market was going to turn in late 2022, but so I decided, hey, I would buy it at $4. Why not? It's so damn cheap. Who gives a crap? Go gamble. It went up to 15, 16, 17 here, and I sold. I never got back in, because once it pulled back to 7, I should have just got back in, because see what happened? It just kept going up and up, and this is 6,000%. This was better than Palantir. If I just went more aggressive. So this is kind of the problem which people face. You have limited resources, right? So you have to pick and choose what stocks you think are going to go up very high. And if it was between Palantir and Carvana, which one would you think made more sense? You would probably think Palantir. It has AI, it did all the software stuff, it's a tech company. What does Carvana do? Use cars. So yeah, So that's what I did. I just chose Palantir over Carvana, right? I decided to put all my capital there. I didn't want to waste any time here, but guess what? I should have left some money in or at least jump back. Even at $30, like looking at the chart, it made sense to buy back at least in $30. It went over, came back. This was an important level of support before COVID, after COVID. It went up to 300. So, right? So nearly like I mean, come on. It's tough. It's tough. Stock market doesn't have to make sense to you, me, anything. All that has to matter is that Peloton doesn't need to be a good company. All it needs to prove is that it's not losing money anymore. As long as it doesn't need, if it keeps saying that it's not losing money anymore, this can go all the way back up to 160 just because it's not as garbage as the previous quarter. That's it. It's all about expectations. People expect this company to be bad. But once you run out of people willing to sell the stock, they're willing to buy it just because it wasn't as bad as the previous quarter. It can still be a bad company, but a bad company could still have a good stock. A good company doesn't necessarily have a good stock. So stock and company not necessarily correlated in that way. It's all about behavior and people's expectations. So a Peloton could be like a Carvana. It could just keep going up and up. If they turn around the company well enough, it can go all the way back up there. So keep that in mind, you know. And let's see what other things to talk about. Oh yeah, since we're talking about cars, I should also remind you about O'Reilly, ORLY. They had earnings this week, so not bad. Again, O'Reilly stock is a very good long-term stock. Auto parts does very well depending on the company. O'Reilly, and you have AutoZone, AZO. So ORLY for O'Reilly, AutoZone, AZOL. They've done quite well since the pandemic. Auto parts is really good. All right, and it's still doing good. You'll always need auto parts. Does it continue on into 2026? I don't know. It might be over by then if the economy turns around. But for now, this stock, it has broken out of the old high of March. AutoZone, AZO, and O'Reilly. Let's see. Where was it? Yeah, O'Reilly's a lot stronger. So, yeah, it's already broken out of that March high, too. Yeah, so. All right, something to think about. Okay, guys, I'll see you around. It's about an hour. I think I covered everything I need to cover. I talked about beauty supply and stuff last stream. You can go back and see that. Beauty supply is a leading indicator, I think, of the economy. And I should also mention how inflation expectations are. It's bad. So it's probably because of the egg prices or something. Let me see. So inflation expectations, yeah. Ooh, man, they think inflation is going to go back up to 4% or something. Let's see. So this morning we had unemployment data. So non-farms payroll was 143,000. Added jobs, people forecasted 205,000. Unemployment rate has went down 0.1% to 4%. But wages, you see here, hourly earnings went up 0.5% month over month. And then if we look at the Michigan, it's University of Michigan. This is a survey they do. And the Fed cares about this. They think the economy isn't going to do good because it went down from 70, previous. Yeah, so it went down from 70 to 76 or something. They were expecting 71, 72. So it's 67.8. And the 5-year inflation expectation is 3.3. So it held steady. But the inflation expectations right now for this year has went up from 3.3% to 4.3%. So it's probably because of eggs. I'm guessing because of eggs. So that's huge. Fed will not like that. Okay, that's why you see this kind of like mismatch in the way the market is moving right now. they can't decide which one is more important for the Fed to decide how they want to do interest rates. And we won't know in 40 days. Next week on Wednesday, we'll have CPI. Jerome Powell will talk to the Senate and House on Tuesday and Wednesday next week. All right, guys, I'll see ya. And donate to Portia. Remember that to keep the show.
Feel like I should, feel like I should, feel like I should, feel like I should go. Go. Feel like I should go. Feel like I should, feel like I should, feel like I should, feel like I should go. Feel like I should go. Feel like I should, feel like I should, feel like I should, feel like I should. I should go.